'Tis the season for Elliot Freidman tweet notifications and Kevin Weeks' bizarre breaking news videos. Ryan Huska is your new head coach.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and I'm so excited and so happy to be here with you today because the Flames have a new head coach, but it's not official. It's just coming from two very reliable sources in the NHL. But before we talk about Ryan Huska and his introduction to the Calgary Flames, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. Like I said, we're going to talk about Ryan Huska and how the team is going to announce him in the coming days, and why the internal hire is the best option, and what he brings to this Calgary Flames team. But before we do that, just a quick heads up that today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Let's begin, shall we? What's done is done. And actually, on today's episode of 32 Thoughts, Elliot Freidman was like, it's not done until it's done. And he said that again last night during the Stanley Cup final game when he was asked about the Flames head coaching situation, and it appears that they will be announcing Ryan Huska in the coming days and will hold a press conference on Monday. Now, to me, I feel like, especially as someone who has done who does PR and has done announcements and then following it up with a press conference, personally, I think people need a little bit more time than just Monday at noon. I think it's I wish that they had announced it earlier today, so that way, from the media's perspective, just to give people time, but also everybody that's in Calgary will cover it and they'll be there. This is just me nitpicking. But anyways, Ryan Huska is the next head coach of the Calgary Flames, coming on the heels of Daryl Sutter being fired. Much like Craig Conroy, he was groomed for this position. He has been with the organization since 2014. He came in the same offseason as Brad Treliving. I was like, there was no way that could have been 9 years ago, but it was, and that's crazy to think about. But this is exactly what you need heading into this season, right? You need a coach that is familiar with not only the players on your team, but with the dynamics of the organization. And I feel like I'm basically just repeating what I said when the Flames hired Conroy, but this is a very comfortable and safe decision. It just makes sense to go this route, It's not that the players need coddling, because I've seen people say, oh, well, the players are just so soft and they need their hands held, and Jonathan Huberdeau is a coach killer. And it's like, no. It's about supporting your team. It is about ensuring them that there will not be a repeat of last year and doing everything in your power to avoid that from happening. And I think that's why this hire is so great, because Ryan Huska, obviously assistant head coach for the last 5 years, and he has been a part of this team and has seen the trial and tribulations that this team has gone through. He has a rapport with the players. He has, he knows the organization. I don't know how else to say it. He is an internal hire. He is going to know how things work and how to get things done. I think that it's great to see again, them hiring from within to promote their own and professional development. But no, it's important that you treat your staff well and you don't burn them, because last year it was reported that Huska was going to coach the Chicago Blackhawks, and it didn't end up happening. Obviously, the Blackhawks ended up hiring someone else, but there were plenty of options for him to go elsewhere. Like, there was nothing preventing him from, going to be a head coach in a different organization. It was just a matter of things working out the way that they did. And I think it's good. I think it's a smart decision for the Flames, because, again, like I said, they know how this guy works with the team. They know like we talked about on yesterday's episode, you can't just plug and play. You can't just pluck these coaches from a situation and expect the coaching to translate well in this organization. The same way we talked about with players. You can't just pluck a player from this organization and sign him and expect him to just thrive the same way that he did with his previous team. But Ryan Huska as your new head coach is a sensible decision. I would believe that it is likely to see Mitch Love brought on as an assistant coach. I'm not entirely sure what that situation looks like now, and I'm sure that there's a little competition there. Everybody wants to be a head coach. We talk about it all the time. There's only so many of these hockey jobs. People are hungry for it. So either Mitch Love returns to the Wranglers, or he is brought up as an assistant coach, which would be super fun, super interesting, I think, to have, young coaches behind the bench to bring the best out of these team, of this team, and especially the young players. But coming up next, we're going to talk about why the internal hire is good and how the players could potentially react to this. And did any of them maybe have a say in any of this? But before we do that, let's take a quick second to talk about Birddogs. Birddogs are stretch khaki shorts that are designed for a fit, slimmer, and they give your leg a nice sculpted look. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemons, but fit way better, and I find them to be incredibly comfortable. I love that, you can just wear them casual around the house with, just a big t-shirt, or you could kind of dress it up a little bit with a polo. And right now you can go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL and enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL for a free Yeti style tumbler. Thank you for hanging out with me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and make sure you are following me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. This is a step in the right direction. This team obviously needed a general manager, and that general manager was going to bring in someone that he liked as a head coach. And it was reported that, there were 2 rounds of interviews, and Nick mentioned the other day, maybe they conducted as many interviews as they possibly did to kind of steal some ideas from guys. I will never forget, someone interviewed with a certain Boston baseball team for a social media position, gave them some ideas. They didn't get the job, but those ideas were executed the following season. So it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon practice, okay? You can at least try and see what works, right? But for Ryan Huska to come in, and he's already here. He's not coming in. For Ryan Huska to be promoted to head coach is really great. I think that sticking in-house in the Flames organization as a whole, not just like the Flames, it will show to be helpful. Again, I mentioned earlier that it is a safe decision, but that is something that they need. Last year was a lot for the players. Some of them like requested trades immediately after the season ended and then rescinded them as soon as Daryl Sutter was fired. So that issue has been resolved. Does bringing in a new head coach solve all of your problems, like your goalie issues, your offense not being what it was, Jonathan Huberdeau last season? No. But a new head coach that is receptive, that is in touch with today's game, is going to be of great value to this team. This team, they say teamwork makes the dream work for a reason. It's not just the coach out there playing Sims with his players. It is a group. These guys are a group that have, their ideas are meant to be heard. And Ryan Huska strikes me as a coach that listens to his players and listens to that feedback, and he'll do whatever it takes to get the most out of them, but not in an overly aggressive approach. Obviously you have to be a little headstrong to be a coach, and any leadership position, you can't just be passive. You have to assert yourself. And I think a lot of that can kind of get lost in the shuffle of things, because not anyone can be a leader or a coach. And what I love about the Flames team, and what I think that they have improved from last season, is that they want to be heard. They want to be better. And bringing in a coach that saw how hungry they were, that saw how desperate they were for change, that coach, it's going to feed off of that, right? They know everything. I mean, Ryan Huska was absolutely in the locker room when those screaming matches went down between Backlund and Sutter. There's not a doubt in my mind. It's just a change. It is a 180. It is something positive. I don't know. I don't know how else to frame it other than this guy knows the dynamics, knows what the players want, and is going to do everything in his power to bring them from point A to point B. How is he going to get the most out of these players? How is he going to approach the season and the roster changes? I think that's going to be an interesting thing to look at, because, Craig Conroy said it himself that there will be young guys playing in the lineup. So your spot isn't automatically, saved, or you're not automatically promoted just because, you're a top player on the team. It's not how it works. You have to earn that spot. And I think, that's why Mitch Love's input is going to be important as well. Everyone has a voice, and I think everyone is going to use it in a positive way, because the organization showed that if you speak up and advocate for change, positive change, you will see difference. Now, that does not mean that there's going to be a diva in the locker room saying, I want it this way, I want this coach, I want that. I don't think it's ever going to be anything like that. But I do think that there will be a lot more positive vibes coming from that locker room. And I really do think that Mitch Love will come up as an assistant head coach, because, he's done all he can in the AHL. At some point you truly have to promote this guy, because he knows what he's doing and he deserves it. He's worked hard. He didn't get the head coaching position, so just name him the assistant. And he's still very young. I think I saw that he was 43. I can't remember if it was 39 or 43. Either way, very young. And he can learn from Huska, because obviously coaching at the AHL level is developmental, right? You're bringing these guys in from international leagues or from college and juniors, whatnot, developing them into NHL caliber players. But now, how do you get them from the AHL to the NHL successfully? You still have to refine skills in these players. And I think if anyone is going to be able to point something out that he notices in one of the players, especially the younger guys, it will be Mitch Love. Not in a negative way, but because he knows these players. He has worked with them. He has watched them like hawks. Of course he is going to be able to pick up on some things faster. Maybe one guy isn't shooting as much. He's overpassing more than he did last season. Okay, you find out what's going on. Are you nervous because you're playing with NHL caliber, line mates, and you're trying to make a jump and you're fighting for a spot? So I think that Love and Huska working in tandem could be really great. I think it's important to, again, have another person that's another body in this, another voice in this, as involved as Mitch Love was or is with the Wranglers. He knows his team and he knows how to get players going. It is not rocket science here, people. I think that it is safe to say that the Flames are in good hands, and it's just a matter of getting things done. And they're doing that. And again, we can look forward to the draft, to free agency, maybe some trades. I don't know. But coming up next, we are going to take a second and talk about Ryan Huska's Sports Ox reviews and basically rate my professor for hockey coaches. But before we do that, let's take a quick break and talk about Gametime. Gametime is a fantastic place and the place for last-minute ticket deals. You don't need to plan months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event, and they have flash sales, of course, leading up to it as well. Gametime guarantees that your ticket will always be the best price. If you find a ticket or tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. I love Gametime because you get images of your seat before you buy, so you know what to expect when you arrive. And it's a lot easier than, kind of guessing based on, what you've seen on TV or hoping that one of these websites has it updated. Gametime has you covered. Snag those tickets without the stress with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me as we get so excited about the Flames officially announcing Ryan Huska. This is a great time for the organization, and it's a great time to listen to Locked On Flames because we are here for you every single day, Monday through Friday, and we're free. Doesn't get much better than that, But I did want to take a second to talk about these Ryan Huska reviews on the Sports Ox, which is an app with verified players and coaches to review players and coaches. To me, this is the rate your professor of the professional sports world. If you don't know what Rate My Professor is, it is basically a website where you can go on and rate your professor. I have never given a good rating because I feel like a lot of people, when you go to review a professor, you're going to talk about how negative your experience was. But I think it is a beneficial resource when picking out college classes, to be entirely honest. So let's see what people on the Sports Ox have to say about our new head coach, Ryan Huska. On October 24th, 2020, someone gave him a 7. It says, cared too much on details that had nothing to do with the game, micromanaged players, didn't give confidence to guys who needed it, honest and good person, smart and understands the game well. That feels like a very contradicting statement. Smart and understands the game well. Cared too much on details. Micromanaged. Didn't give the confidence to guys who needed it. Honest and good person. Okay. Honestly, these reviews really aren't super recent, I should also add. So this is from June 10th, 2019. This is right before the Bruins lost the Stanley Cup. Hello. He gets a 9.2 from this player or coach. I don't know. Huska is a really good coach. He holds his guys accountable and gets the most out of his players every practice. It doesn't matter if you're a first rounder or free agent. He plays to win and will play the guys that are rolling that night. You mean to tell me that there's a coach out there that isn't going to slot in Milan Lucic just because he's Milan Lucic? Anyways, he tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, and will make you a better player. I'd recommend him as a coach any day. Oh, 2 players agree and 2 players disagree with this. I think people are just bitter, but that's just me being overly optimistic here. A 9.8. I'm assuming this is out of 10. On January 10th, 2021. Was this around the time that Sutter was being brought on? I think it was. Yes, this was absolutely during the bubble, the shortened season. Huska expects the best out of his players and demands them to do the things that will push their development. That is very good to hear, considering how we know a lot of guys will be making the jump from the AHL to the NHL this year, or maybe even Matthew Coronado playing in the NHL. So the Hockey East to, that's not Hockey East, but college to professional sports. Okay. He's very organized day in and day out, and he made it clear for every game how he expected you to play. 2 players agree. Love this. I love that this is a resource because it's kind of fun, really. January 10th, 2021. Harder on younger guys than old guys. 1 player disagrees. Okay. I need to go back and find this Flames roster from 2021 and see and just do some sleuthing, because now I'm really curious who could have said this stuff or what it could be pertaining to. And for what it's worth, this is a Daryl Sutter. This is a Daryl Sutter review from January 10th, 2021. Daryl was the most negative person, let alone coach, I have ever come across in my career. He would belittle players in a team setting constantly and went as far as to not feed grown men on the airplane because we lost a hockey game. That sounds like a situation you need to bring up with your player rep, because that sounds that is interesting. That is very interesting. That is not good. But, you see the difference there. I think any coach is going to have, anyone in this world, not even coaches, anyone is going to have critiques against them, for them. Obviously, people praise each other. People have drawbacks. Look at your workplace or your school or people you work in close quarters with. I know I am not organized. I am frantic. It looks unorganized to you, but to me it is my messy chaos, but I know where everything is. It's not like that for some people. I have a horrible memory. Sticky notes everywhere, right? Now, I don't think any of you are withholding meals from anyone because you lost a hockey game. But I just think it's super interesting to hear, this is a verified source, for verified through players and coaches. So take it with a grain of salt, I guess. Like I mentioned, Rate My Professor, it could be a very similar comparison, and just because how many people are actually going on to leave good reviews. You instantly, if you have a negative experience at a restaurant or a car dealership or anywhere, what is your first reaction? I'm going to critique them. I'm going to smash them on the internet. I'm going to take their survey and leave negative feedback. So that could be a similar situation, but I think that there are a lot more positive reviews here, and there's a lot more to be excited and hopeful for. Ryan Huska has like an overall 8 rating, and Daryl Sutterheader 2.9, not 29, 2.9. So again, take that for what it is. I consider it, call it what you want, but that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today on this Friday edition of Locked On Flames. The Flames have a new head coach. I didn't think I would be saying those words this week. I thought I'd have to wait until next week, but we will go over the press conference and, more next week as the news unfolds and kind of see what his plan of attack is and if he's planning on bringing in Mitch Love. I don't know. I would like to see it, especially with the strong probability of players making the jump. And that does it for me on today's episode. So thank you. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, and we are free on YouTube as well. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a nice little review and rating. And I will see you on Monday. Bye-bye.